This is a Renew Studios Network podcast. Faithful, uplifting, family-focused.
Abercrombie Kids is bringing the ultimate first day energy back to school. It all starts with on-trend outfits for that front door photo shoot, plus the coolest tees, shorts, and jeans to take them through the rest of the year. Get them ready for their close-up and keep them comfy too. Make this grade their best one yet. Shop all things back to school, in-store, online, and in the app.
The Red Hot Clearance event is on right now at Burlington, and I'm excited for the markdowns. It's all about savings on top of savings throughout the store. This is when I stock up on styles for my closet, home decor, and much more because there's up to 70% off other retailers' prices on clearance. I mean, I'm going every day because these prices, too hot to miss. Burlington. Deals, brands, wow. Styles and selections may vary by location.
This is a Rogue Media Network podcast.
All right. Hey, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Relationships and Reason. And today is a very exciting day. We get to
an exciting day.
Bring on a guest, and Tinsy Covey. Covey?
Yes.
Am I saying that right?
Sure. Yes.
She said sure.
Yes.
Yeah.
We will receive that.
We'll receive that.
We will receive that.
And we're going to get into a very incredible topic, interesting topic here. But I want to, someone who knows you a little bit better than I do, I want Sophia to kind of maybe intro into this conversation a bit.
Yeah. Well, Tinsy, we met you, what, 3 years ago when we were thinking about our kids' school.
Yes.
And
Yes.
which direction we should go in. And so we got to have a conversation with you and your husband on the phone, and you pretty much convinced us that
This is what you should do.
This is what you should do, and we are now at this school that you suggested. And from that moment, I remember at that conversation, and I left that conversation telling Jermaine, I was like, wow, they were really cool. I'm excited to get to know them better. And then life happens and we lost touch. And, but now we've reconnected through my son playing soccer.
Shout out to soccer.
Shout out to soccer. It's sports, right? Sports
Yes.
has a way of bringing people together
Yes.
more ways than one. And just kind of getting to chat with you a little bit more, learning more about what you do. And as we were thinking about this topic today, you were like the forefront of who we wanted to be the guest for us today.
Absolutely.
So today's topic is about being a resource without losing yourself, being a resource without losing yourself, and knowing when you do need someone to help you.
Yeah. And I just get the sense that everyone that you meet and see, it's just like they feel like you are supportive. You feel like even in the first interactions, like you're one of those people that the first connection we have, and you can come in with just like a lot of thoughts. And as soon as we start talking to you, it's just like everything just kind of dissolves. It calms down.
Wow.
I'm like, okay, what am I doing in my life? What's going on?
You can breathe now.
Yeah.
And there's more reasons for that besides your personality.
Yes.
And that could be in what you do. So can you tell our audience a little bit about yourself and what you do?
Yes. So do you want me to talk about what I do or the reason for what you just described?
Well, both. We would like to hear your background. Yeah.
I would say that the reason for that flavor, I must attribute that to Jesus.
That's good.
I must.
Yes.
So that is the reason.
Yeah.
There you go.
I would say. So
I love that. She said the reason for that flavor.
Yes.
The
Yes.
reason for that flavor
Yeah.
is
Can you guys all feel like you just all calming down right now? Can you already feel it? This is what we're talking about. But okay, now tell us a little bit about what you do and what you specialize in.
So I am a psychotherapist, and what that entails as far as the way that it looks in day-to-day practice is, so my husband and I own a private psychotherapy practice here in Waco. And what that looks like for me as a psychotherapist is I do lots of psychological evaluations with sweet nuggets that are a year and a half old, all the way through other sweet humans that are 102 years old.
Wow.
And so I do lots of psychological evaluations, assessing for things related to the ways that we move in life. And so that can look like neurodevelopmental evaluations with little bitty nuggets to see if there are factors at play like autism spectrum disorder or ADHD, but also taking a look at other factors such as depressive symptoms, anxiety symptoms, not just trying to put a label on people, but trying to partner with people to see what is the mural of your life, like who are you as a whole person, not what is wrong with you, but who are you as a whole person, and what are the seasonings that have flavored your life. And then with that, there, from a diagnostic or clinical perspective, a combination of certain symptoms or flavors often is called something. There's a diagnosable thing that it's called, and I don't view it as labeling people, but maybe partnering with them to lean into a roadmap. You know, so now that we know what these group of things that you're experiencing is called, we have a roadmap for how to navigate you toward peace and healing. The goal is not to just, okay, that's cool, you have ADHD, have a nice life. Bye. But okay, now that we know what that's called, how can we move and sashay toward peace and wholeness, you know? And so there's that part. And then there's also the therapeutic piece that involves that navigation part. So now that we've identified something, what are we moving toward? We're moving toward peace and wholeness and freedom and breakthrough, right? And so that part looks like a lot of not just talk therapy, I guess is what you could call it, but in having conversations, we would lean into things like, okay, tell me what it feels like to be you from day to day. What do you want it to feel like to be you from day to day? What are your core values? What are your core beliefs? And are you in alignment with those things? What are the capital T truths in your life? Not the lowercase t truth, but the capital T truths that navigate your life, because that affects how we move in life, right? So if I say, oh, I believe drinking water is really important, but you see that I look dehydrated,
right?
What do I believe?
Right.
Either I don't believe that drinking water is important, or I believe it's important for other people, but not for me, or my belief needs to align with my behavior, and I need to shift something about the way that I move about life so that I can drink some water and not be dehydrated. Does that make sense?
Absolutely.
I love that.
Absolutely.
That's kind of the goal, is to help people identify what are your core beliefs, what are your capital T truths, and are you leaning into them?
Yeah.
Because when we're not leaning into those things, there's dissonance that causes distress, that causes all sorts of things to come to the surface that are not delicious. Not delicious. So that's part of the journey. And so in that, conversations involve, again, what does life look like for you day to day? And so questions involve things like, are you moving? Do you move? What does movement look like for you? How active are you? Because being sessile, our bodies, unless there's a medical reason why someone is not able to physically move, our bodies don't like to remain sessile. So do you have the capacity for movement? And within your capacity for movement, are you engaging in that way? Because that affects your holistic health. And then in addition to that, speaking of water, do you drink water? Are you hydrating yourself? Are you nourishing your physical body the way that it needs? And then other factors that involve asking questions like, what are other medical conditions that might be impacting the way that you navigate life? And what's the flavor of your life? What's the flavor of who you are? And again, what are your capital T truths? And that is what psychotherapy looks like.
Wow.
With me. And then there's several other clinicians at our practice as well. There are 5 of us total. And then, everyone has a different style. Yeah. But that is our overall vision, is to help people move peacefully and efficiently toward freedom, wholeness, and rich peace and breakthrough.
That's really good. It feels like a very holistic approach.
Definitely.
If
That's
I,
the goal.
someone that is not I'm not in the industry, or really, I feel like this is one of the deeper, more deeper conversations. Even we just started that I've really understood of how to think about psychotherapy, and hearing you say that, I've kind of categorized it in my mind. And so it sounds like the partnering in order to understand.
Yes.
There is the roadmap that is you help again and partner to almost define and understand further. And then while you were describing this, it's almost like the paths that you select in order to get there, the streets or the different pathways that aligns with the individual's lives.
Yes, exactly.
In order to do that. And so, and also thinking about it holistically in a sense of it's not just mentally, but perhaps what's a part of your body, your food, maybe your relationships and so forth.
Yes,
So
exactly.
very interesting. Now, why did you get into this profession? What was your driver, your motivation in getting here?
That's an excellent question. So or I would say my original path was in line with medicine. Yeah. So I decided when I was really young that I wanted to become a physician. And the reason for that was because I spoke with family members that are physicians and said, "Oh, why do you do what you do?" I remember asking my aunt, why do you do that? Why are you a doctor? And she said, "Well, sweetie, I like to help people." And I was like, "Oh, okay." And then my mother is in the medical field as well, and she's a nurse. "Mommy, why are you a nurse?" "Oh, I like to help people." "Oh, okay. Well, I guess I'll be a doctor. I want to help people too." So from a young age, I knew that I wanted to help people. So those were the examples that I had where if you want to help people, you're in the medical field. And so that's what I pursued. I would say that was those conversations were the catalyzing agents for that. So I pursued that. So that meant for middle school, high school, my track was medical school. I've studied at Baylor University for undergraduate degree, and the program I was in was a pre-med program. Finished that program, getting geared up to hop into medical school. And then at that time, I remember working at Providence Hospital as a physician's facilitator. The position has since dissolved, but I was a physician's facilitator. And so and this is after graduating, finishing my undergrad, before entering medical school. But it's kind of like the in-between. I was literally supposed to sashay into medical school in a couple of months. And I remember I was working with a doctor who said, "Teensy, every time I come up here, you're always in a patient's room. Why are you always in a patient's room?" And I looked at him and said, I thought we all wanted to be in a patient's room.
That's not what we're supposed to do? Why? What's the problem?
Yes. And so then he went on to describe, well, you're always in a patient's room, but then if I ask you about a patient, you know not just their lab results, but you know their favorite color. You know the reason why they declined that lab is because of X, Y, and Z reason. Right. You know the triggers, all these things that you gain because you talk to people all the time. Yeah. And I was like, oh, okay. Thanks for sharing that. Right. Thank you for sharing that. But then he went on to say, so what I encourage you to do is lean into something that taps on that.
Wow.
And he said, you will be an excellent physician, but I think that you will find it not fulfilling.
Oh, wow.
And so that was a very powerful conversation for me. I'd never considered doing anything else prior to that. And to me, it highlighted, okay, well, several things going on there. There's, the relationship with a colleague, or actually my supervisor, calling something out that I didn't see.
Yeah.
I didn't see that. I like talking with people. Right. I'm going to be a great doctor. But he redefined it using terms that I was familiar with, but a category that I was not familiar with.
Yeah.
And so when he said that, I was like, okay, thanks for sharing. And then immediately wept because I didn't know what to do with that. But I knew that I needed to receive it because I knew that what he was communicating, although I was not familiar with it, it didn't mean that it was wrong or incorrect or out of place because it resonated with a capital T truth in my spirit.
Come on.
Because sometimes I think people speak to us things that we're not familiar with or comfortable with receiving, but because we haven't heard it yet, we think we can't receive it.
Yeah.
Because I wasn't prepared for that. I can't receive it. No, yes, you can.
Yeah, that's good.
You can.
That's really
Something
good.
can be uncomfortable, but still peaceful when it resonates with a capital T truth in your spirit.
I love that.
And so, yes, I wept, but also it was so powerful because I needed to lean into the truth of what he was actually speaking. And so after I wept, and then I started to consider, what am I grieving? Why the tears? He didn't say, Teens, you're a bad person. Teens, you'll be, no, what am I grieving? So I needed to acknowledge that part because I was about to make an exchange.
Come on. Yeah.
An exchange for something good for something that was best.
Wow.
Right.
Yeah.
And so I was like, okay, God, what do I do? What do I do with this? And so after sitting and praying with the Lord about all of that situation, this image came to mind of a bowl of fruit.
Okay.
And I love strawberries. Like I love strawberries. Love them. Love strawberries, right? And so in the bowl, so 2 bowls of fruit, 1 bowl was just strawberries. And I was like, yes, amen. Yes, Jesus. And then the next bowl of fruit was strawberries and then some other fruits that will remain unmentioned.
Some that does not like very
they
much.
were fruits that are passable. I mean, they're not disgusting.
Okay.
But are they as delicious as a strawberry? No.
Okay.
No.
Okay.
So there's a bowl that had some strawberries, but just, the unmentionable fruits. And then another bowl that had all strawberries. And I, again, wept because I was like, I know what this means. And so for me, medicine, becoming a physician would have been the bowl of fruit with strawberries and other unmentionables. But there's something else that would have been best that is just the bowl of strawberries. And so in that moment, this question rose up in my spirit of, will you settle for what is good or will you lean into best?
Wow.
Right?
That's touching a lot of the things that we discuss in this podcast. First of all, just hearing that, and I don't think you probably had, I don't know if you had the language at that time to define it so eloquently as you just did right now, that period of that transition, right? And we've been to acknowledge, hey, something has passed.
Yes.
And now I need to go into something and then leaning into and trusting God has something better for you. And to see that revealed. And we talk about, Sophia and I talk about this all the time here, we can do good stuff all the time, or even especially in ministry. When we think about ministry, there's a lot of good things that you can do, but are you doing what God called you to do?
That's it.
Yeah, that's really good.
And that is special.
I love that. And a couple of weeks ago, I think we did a podcast about coaches speaking into our lives.
Yes. Yes.
To guide us in ways that we didn't even see, right? Or know that it's possible. And, we talked about a coach saying to me, you can play in college. I didn't come to the U.S. thinking I was going to play in college, but those words just kind of like, okay, well, I guess I'll try to go, right?
Yes.
And so I love that you said that, this physician spoke that into you and it made you consider. And I think, sometimes we get stuck doing things because our family have done it. My grandfather was a pastor, my dad, everybody. So now I have to be a pastor or whatever it may be. And with you, everybody's in medicine, you're like, okay, well, maybe this is what I'm supposed to do, right?
And it wasn't even bad, right?
Yeah,
so it wasn't
absolutely.
It wasn't that I lacked goals or vision, but was it what was best for me?
Yeah.
It just and the interesting thing is, so my family's from Nigeria. I'm from Nigeria. That's where I was born. I'm an American citizen now, but I'm a Nigerian American. Right? So the Nigerian culture, what do you mean you switched from that? What switching? For what? The Lord said. Did he say?
We already prayed about this.
Yes.
The Lord already showed me a vision.
So what? But even the response of my family, they're like, okay.
Oh, wow.
You feel like God said, okay, all right. So what did he say is coming next?
Right, that's the thing.
But that's the thing. It's like, what's coming next? So I think that it's pivotal to recognize the importance of leaning into other people speaking into our
Yeah.
lives. You know? So that physician had said, oh, I think you need to lean into something different. And, you know, I think that you'll find being a physician not as fulfilling. And if I had said, you know what, he is so rude and I can't believe he said that. He's coming against my goals. Like if I lacked the humility to even consider, and I'm just going to be an island and only do what I think. No.
You want to be enjoying life the way that you are right now.
No, there's such significance in leaning into not and being able to challenge the things that I considered before, and not consider the journey as wasted, right? So the journey of getting to medical school was not a waste because I do integrate a lot of that perspective into my practice. So it wasn't a waste. It also was not poor me. All of my plans are changing. No, it's okay. We're leaning into this new adventure of best. You know. So anyway, go ahead. I just wanted to jump that.
That's really good. And I was going to ask that question as well. Do you feel like that experience that, you know, medical school brought you, how it played a part into that transition? And it felt like it was just a direct connection.
Yes.
It's especially if you received it. I think a lot of times there is, you know, that transition point, but for us, it takes a long time for us to see the point that, oh God, you orchestrated that.
Exactly.
That was a part of it.
Exactly.
But you received it and were able to transition into that. One thing I want to ask is, you know, it seems like you're very intentional with words.
Yes. Yes.
And so I want to understand, you know, even maybe in that time, how you received those words, and then you kind of touched on it a little bit with your family, but even now, like how do you, I guess, approach just your language, and how is that kind of played a part in the way that you're developing your practice and the way that you know, navigate life? Yes.
Words are so powerful. Right? Scripture talks about the power of life and death in our tongue.
In our tongue.
And
yes. This little thing. This little bitty
this
thing.
This little thing that can get burned if you drink water that's too hot. Like it's so sensitive but powerful.
Come on.
Powerful. And so the tongue is powerful. And so the reason why I try to be intentional with words is because I recognize the power that can be in our words. You know, what we can release into the lives of other people with our words, what we can receive into our own lives with our words, you know? So if that doctor that spoke to me at the hospital had said that, and then my words to him were, I reject and I don't receive that because what would I have spoken over my life at that point, you know?
Wow,
and so I think that the things that come out of our mouth, they start first internally. They come from somewhere, right? Our thoughts, our heart posture is reflected in our speech. And so the words are really important to me because it matters what we speak over our lives, and it matters what we speak over the lives of other people. And so I'm not going to let words proceed from my mouth that are not in alignment with the capital T truth that I believe about not just myself, but other people as well. You know? So if I don't believe something about another person's identity, I'm not going to speak it. If God believes that this person is valuable, then my words need to be in alignment with that.
Wow.
If God loves this person, and he does, because he loves all people, you know?
Yes.
Since God loves this person, then how can my words be in alignment with that to honor God and to honor that person?
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Absolutely.
Is that what you're asking?
Yeah, absolutely.
Absolutely. And again, we are talking about being a resource in someone's life without losing yourself. And, you know, the physician was a resource in your life to guide you into this place. And so with our listeners who are facing a situation, whatever it may be that they're struggling with, how would you advise them to go about, if they are a resource in someone's life, to make sure that they don't lose themselves in that, and knowing not to give too much or to give to a certain extent, and knowing when they need a safe space for them to reach out and touch. Does that make sense?
It does. That's an excellent question. The first question, I guess, in response to that question is, what is the purpose of that role as a resource? So that physician in speaking with me, he was not looking to gain anything from
Yeah.
me. He was not looking to make himself feel more important by giving me some words of wisdom.
Yeah.
I genuinely sensed that he was sharing with me and being a resource to me for my good.
Come on.
And he, because of who he is and his journey in faith, he was in alignment with God.
Yeah.
And he felt like I'm going to invest in Teensy in this way. So it just was really, I think it was evident that he knew the reason why he was investing in me. So I would say that's an excellent place to begin is, what is your motivation?
Yeah.
Why are you a resource? And is it to fill a need in yourself?
Wow.
Is it from a place of deficit or
Right.
insecurity?
Yeah.
You want to be a resource out of insecurity? Well, what fruit is that going to bear? You know, is it for the other person or for you?
Right.
Yeah, that's really good.
And it's not to say that we all have to be perfect before we're an excellent resource, but I think even being aware of our not deficiencies, but being aware of our vulnerabilities and recognizing, okay, what will be my litmus test for when I start to get off track? What will be my litmus test for when I begin to lean more into benefiting myself and not this person or these people? So I think being an excellent resource has to do with being a clear, clean vessel, not being perfect, but being aware of the things that can impact the manner in which you are a resource.
That sounds like a lot of awareness.
Mm-hmm.
And
self-awareness.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
And we are not all there yet, right? We are, I think about how, automatically, a lot of times you see, perhaps you see a friend or someone, and it seems like there is a need. There is somewhere where you might be able to help, or a relationship, and you figure, hey, I can jump in and support you right there, and so forth. But before you get into that, as you're saying, understanding, where your vulnerabilities are and so forth, how do you, as an individual, how do you kind of self-check and understand, like, how do you kind of check your mental state in order to truly support someone?
Yes. So for me, it starts with asking the Lord, okay, Holy Spirit, search me. What is my motivation? Before these lips start moving and things start flying out,
Holy you're Spirit, like, please come back.
Yes, I retract that.
Come on back.
I retract. It's easier to pause than to retract a statement.
Yeah,
I would rather pause than to say something out of turn and then need to retract it. But no, none of us are perfect. Nobody's perfect. So there are times where you say something and then you're like,
hey,
actually, that was
hold
not.
up, take that back.
Sorry, that was not it, But at least if we start with the posture of, well, let me at least try to ask the Lord first.
Right.
So for me, it starts with asking the Lord.
Yeah.
Okay, what do you have for this person? Not what is the thing that I can do.
Right.
Because I want to partner with the Lord.
Yeah.
I don't want to partner with myself. I want to partner with the Lord. So Lord, what do you have for this person? And is what you have for this person in alignment with who you've made me to be? Do I need to be the one to deliver that? Or do I need to be the one to journey with them as they go to the other person that can deliver that?
Is good.
That's so
and
good.
so that is where I start is, okay, Jesus, what do you have for them? And is that in alignment with what you want my role to be in their lives? Because if I can put Jesus in the front, then I can dilute or hopefully negate my own selfish ambition or insecurities that are motivating me to try to get a need met by helping someone else. Because that comes out sideways later on down the track. If that was part of the motivation, that stuff comes out. And then it's like, oh, well, why am I upset that they're not doing what I thought they should be doing?
That has happened to me. That has happened to me maybe too many times.
Oh, is it about them or about me?
Right, absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely, yes. I'm
Let
like,
me sit
why don't you just
down.
do what I asked you to do?
I know.
And do it my way. I love that you said that. And you mentioned before, like, your litmus test. And knowing when you've had enough. I don't think many of us know that. when we've had like when we've reached a limit to what we can give, because most of us give so much that we give out of what we don't even have. So it's almost like, how do you know that you reach your limit? How do you know where should you cut the line to say, okay, I don't have anything else anymore to give?
Yes. So I think that there's work that we do before that point so that we can recognize perhaps as that point is coming up. So for example, I'm talking a lot about water. I do thoroughly believe in hydration, but also I'm talking a lot about water. But so if I believe that if I see this person in front of me is clearly dehydrated, and I do believe that my role is to offer them water, but I neglect my nourishment from the Lord in doing so, then my capacity is compromised from the beginning.
Wow.
So I'm pouring out to someone else, but what am I receiving from the Lord? Right?
Yeah.
So scripture says we love your neighbors as yourself, not love your neighbors and then treat yourself like trash.
Yeah.
No,
Wow.
love your neighbors as yourself.
Yeah.
Right.
That's really good.
So how can I'm loving this other person or being their resource, and then I also hopefully giving myself water as well. So if I'm doing that and I begin to sense, I'm a bit parched, feeling a little bit dry,
my tongue
feeling dry
at the top of my mouth.
What is this?
Wow.
What is this?
That's really good.
Is it that I'm giving too much, or is it that I'm not hydrating enough? Did I outrun the grace of God for me in that situation?
That's good.
And so it may not even necessarily mean, okay, time to dip out. It may just mean it's time to pivot.
Yeah.
I need to pivot something.
Yeah.
So when that's happening, the things I lean into, okay, what do I feel in my spirit? What do I feel in my body? What do I feel mentally and emotionally? And not just blowing past things that I sense. So if I'm feeling exhausted, or the person starts walking up to me, I'm like,
we talked about this before.
I feel like I'm going to melt. What is that? I'm like, okay, Jesus, that's not how you view that person.
Oh my gosh.
So something's going on.
Yeah.
What's going on?
Absolutely.
So what is that? Is it my flesh?
Yeah.
Is it that maybe I'm meant to continue investing in that person, but I'm off? Like I need to get myself in alignment, right? Does that make sense?
Yeah,
So checking
absolutely.
with your spirit, and then we're mind, body, spirit, and soul. So my spirit, I can sense something in my spirit, but my body can manifest that as well.
That's really
Yeah.
good.
And so the person walks up to me, and I always have a headache every time this person comes up.
Every time you come in the room, something happens
I
to me.
just have a headache. What is that? I have a headache and I feel like passing out. What is it? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
we just had that conversation.
Leaning into that versus just, because I think sometimes we try to blow past it, and I'm just going to muscle through it. I'm going to do it for the Lord. What are you doing for Jesus?
Yeah, come on. Because I'm
Because that
strong,
comes
right?
out,
I'm the
yes.
strong one. I
I'm
need to
strong.
help. Yeah.
But where did that strength come from?
Yeah, come on.
The Lord.
Yeah.
And then, but when there's a shift from relying on the Lord and then you start leaning into your own strength, that's a different flavor that person is getting.
Right.
Yeah.
They're not getting the same quality.
Wow.
It's because you're not giving of the Lord at that point. It's from yourself.
Yeah.
Yeah,
you know?
that source.
So-
That is so good. It is. It's allowed me to think very different. First of all, there's just that starting point where you are thinking about in any type of relationship, and when you reference that scripture, being able to love your neighbor as yourself.
Yes.
And I'm thinking about just true love of self in a way that you want to give yourself the best. And a lot of times we think, when we have a relationship, it's going to be reciprocal, or right, and we're going to get. And a lot of times we're going into that relationship because we're expecting to get something from that person.
Right.
But I
Yes.
love the fact that your starting point is the Lord, because that is the best source.
Yes.
And so if we can acknowledge, first of all, that, hey, I'm going to truly get the wisdom, insight, knowledge, the grace that I need from the best source. That's
That's it.
truly loving myself.
That's it.
And then I can partner with you or walk with you in this journey that you're at.
Yes.
And it's going to be so much better than if I try to do this myself, or if I try to do it just with you.
Yes, exactly.
I love that. I think that there are many times when if we take this perspective
Okay.
and look at every person, and before we even go into a relationship, a conversation with them, and you're like, okay, Lord, what do you have,
Yes.
for this person?
Mhm.
I know many of us we accept jobs, we meet, we want to
Mhm.
connect with people because
Mhm.
we are thinking like, okay, this person can give me this,
Mhm.
this, or this, or
Yes.
I can do this for this person
Mhm.
that's gonna
Mhm.
give me back something.
Yes.
And so we kind of have that personal
Mhm.
advantage of why we are doing
Yes.
something.
Mhm.
But if we take that perspective of like, okay, God, what do you have for this person, or how do you want to use me in this person's
Mhm.
life? Then it takes away that like personal validation that we
Mhm.
often feel like we are wanting,
Yes.
to when it comes to like relationship, friendship,
Mhm.
helping people,
Yes. Yes.
because you mentioned like what is the selfish desire
Mhm.
behind helping
Yeah.
someone, and I
Mhm.
think a lot of times there is a selfish desire,
Mhm.
Yeah.
like
Mhm.
I'm doing this because I'm gonna get something out of it,
Yes. Mhm.
they're gonna connect me somehow, and
Yes.
we go out of our way, we put
Mhm.
ourselves in different situation that's painful
Mhm.
because we're thinking, okay, well, it's gonna benefit me later,
Yes.
and
Yes.
we are hoping that it does, and sometimes
Mhm.
it does, sometimes it doesn't,
Mhm.
but more often than not, we do get hurt by those
Yes.
situations because of
Yes.
that personal,
Yes.
validation that we're looking
Mhm.
for.
And
Uh,
I feel like God in his grace, there when we engage in that level of relationship with other people, there are often times when he has a gift for us in store in those
yeah, yeah,
relationships, but it's
yeah.
not the gift is not being manifested because we strained and worked really hard to
Right.
squeeze it out of heaven.
Yeah.
That's not
Yeah.
what it is. It's the literal manifestation of the goodness and
Yeah.
the grace of God. But I think leaning into and trusting him first and asking that question of, okay, what do you have for that person? Often there is much that we receive
Yeah.
that is a gift,
Yeah.
perhaps not always the gift that we thought we would
Yeah.
receive, or even if we were thinking we would get one, but it may not always look the way we thought it would. But God is good, and he is gracious, and he's very generous.
Yes.
And so he does manifest his goodness and grace in relationships often. I think it's important to lean into trusting his nature,
Right.
and not just trusting an outcome,
Yeah.
but trusting his nature in those
Yeah.
navigation points.
Really good.
I love that. I'm gonna pivot here to an extent when it comes to like professional help that I feel like, back in the day, getting counseling or getting help was kind of like I don't want to do that because
Yes.
Yeah,
I
there's a
don't want to.
stigma around
Yeah,
it.
there's
Yeah.
a
For
stigma
sure.
around that, but fortunately, there more people are open to like seeing a therapist, and we have seen the importance of that and the necessity
Yes.
for that, and in every walk of life.
Yes.
There's
Yes.
not one that's more deserving than the other.
Yes.
So when it comes to like counseling or coaching or being a mentor, is there a difference? Do you know when to use one more than the other? Should everybody have a therapist? Should when, at what point would you advise someone to, hey, it's probably time to go see somebody to talk this through?
For sure. I think that that's an excellent question. I think that it's recognizable that you may consider leaning into a therapist when the flavor, the authentic and the rich flavor of who you are as an individual becomes impaired. And the way that you present your seasoning, the way you present your flavor is impaired, meaning there's a level of dysfunction in how you're moving in life.
Wow.
And so that means that an example would be if I'm a runner and I find that I don't want to get out of bed.
Yeah.
I don't want to move. It's not just that I don't want to run. I don't want to move.
Wow.
I don't want to get out of bed. I don't want to eat. I just don't want to do anything. That is in opposition to my core nature.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And so that is a time when you would lean into a therapist. At that point, that is that is beyond a coach, I think,
Mm-hmm.
because a coach will encourage you. Okay, will encourage you. But if you're like, that's great, but I have no motivation.
Yeah.
I have nothing to work with. A therapist will look at some of the clinical or medical, mind, body, spirit, all of those things, those connection points that are impacting why you don't want to get out of bed.
Mm-hmm.
Why is there dissonance between your nature
Mm-hmm.
and your presentation?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love that.
Yeah, I had the same question before you asked that, and the definition that you had behind it. Really, I wrote this down: in opposition to your core nature. Yeah, I've never heard it again said like that, but it feels very tangible, right? That feels very something that you can almost define. You know, you are as an individual perhaps a connector. You love people, you love being around people, but you find opposition to that. You know,
Yes.
I can see more people understanding when to get help through something like that, a definition like that.
Excellent.
Yeah, and again, you were giving us so much nuggets. So I think hopefully our listeners are like taking notes from this, because I feel like this is
I got a bunch of notes over here.
A therapy session. When it comes to the importance of what you just saying, like you're feeling not like yourself anymore. Can you talk about the importance of like community and having people around you to even point that out, to say, like, hey, I haven't seen you. You know, like where are you? Everything okay? Like the importance of community. When we're talking to people who are like the givers, the leaders, right? Those who are always encouraging, but never necessarily receiving those encouragements a lot. Just the importance of having safe people into their space. Is there a limit of safe people? How do you figure out a safe person? What type of community would you say will be healthy, beneficial, necessary if we're talking about like leaders or those encouragers that don't necessarily receive it as much?
For sure. A safe community, that is an excellent term. I think it also is very nuanced, right? So safety means what? So if I want to feel safe, what does that mean? Does that mean I want to be around people that will only tell me fluffy things that make me feel great about myself?
Right.
But they're fluffy, but are they dense by way of truth?
Come on. Yeah.
Do I receive challenges from other people who I know have my best in interest? Because I think sometimes we think of safe community as only people that they just need to tell me all the things that I already believe and can never challenge me. No, that's not safe community, actually.
Wow.
That's actually not safe community, because community needs to involve people that will raise your hands up, help you lift your arms up when you don't have the strength to do so, but can also recognize who and what your core nature is and can point out, no, that's not your stride. That's not your pace. That's actually not your flavor. Because this is actually who we remember you to be.
I love
this
that.
is who you are.
I love that.
And the importance of that is, I think, is really rooted in recognizing that we can't see all of the ways that we function. Even the best athletes have what? A coach. They have a team. Even in track, where there are individual events, you're part of a team, right? And so we need people, we need community to let us see what we look like, because we can't see all parts of ourselves. I can't see the back of my head. If I want to see, I'll be, Sophia, can you see what this twisty looks like back here? I can't see that. But if I say, well, I can look at my arms, I can look at my perspective of myself is very limited. So our views of ourselves are very limited, even when we believe we're hearing from God.
Wow.
Even when we believe we're hearing from God, Scripture says we all hear and see in part, not in full. No individual has a full revelation of all truth. And so we need community to point out that which we cannot see
I love that.
about ourselves, about the world around us, about what capital T truth could look like in our
Right.
lives. And so I think that safe community needs to include people who are willing to journey with us and love us enough to say things that may not feel comfortable, but are
Mhm.
still delicious
Yes,
Yeah.
because
absolutely.
they're truth.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And people who are willing to, yes, encourage, but encourage doesn't mean just make you feel good about yourself. Encourage is a lifting up, is a lifting up. It's not always soft and pretty.
Yeah.
It can be firm and gentle, you
Yes.
know? And so community is really important because it helps highlight things that we can't see individually, but it also needs to be people that are willing to tell you the truth of what you need to hear
Yeah.
Mhm.
when you don't necessarily want to hear that. And I think that for individuals who are leaders and givers, that can be an awkward space
Yeah.
because you're used to being the one to tell
Right.
other people
Come
what
on,
they
yeah,
look
yeah, yeah.
like. But there's a posture of humility that's necessary in leadership. That's also necessary in the community of leadership to be able to receive.
Mhm.
Because if you can't receive as a leader, uh-oh.
Right.
Uh-oh, you need to be able to receive as a leader,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah.
And so the givers and leaders need community as well, because even leadership is done with partial revelation.
Yeah.
You only see and hear in part. And so it's helpful to be refilled as leaders and as givers to know that you too can receive
Yeah.
some things, you know, and I
Yeah.
think it gives flavors compassion for when leaders are
Right.
leading other people and
Mhm.
shepherding people. Having been a recipient, your posture is different
Yeah.
when you lead out of that place.
How do we go about having those people in our lives? Do you just go up to a person and say, hey,
You look
you
safe.
should be
You
speaking?
look safe.
Yeah,
You look safe.
Yeah.
Can you be my person?
And I need about 4 of you.
Yeah.
Like, so go and find another. Please provide a
Yes.
Somebody
referral.
that looks like you.
Yes. That is an excellent question. I think discernment, obviously, again, asking the Lord,
Yeah.
because sometimes things or people appear in a way that they're not, you know,
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
I think that there are also varying tiers of community. There's your outer circle, people who are, okay, I can receive a little bit from this person. That is a level of community, right? But then there's the people that are in the medium level where you know what depth to share with
Yes,
those people, and you know
yes.
what to not share
Gotcha.
possibly.
Come on.
And then there's your inner circle people that you can just share everything with, and you know that there's depth with them that's different from the outer circle crew. So I think it's important to recognize that there can be tiers
Yeah.
of community. Also, I think recognizing safety, like safe community, again, goes back to discernment and just saying, okay, when I share at this level with that person, what is the fruit that I experience from that? You know, when I experience it, okay, when I go a little bit deeper, what's the fruit of that? You know?
Yeah.
So I think that discernment is key to recognize who you're supposed to be linked with, because some people appear like, oh, this person would be great, but who said, what is that
Right.
based
Come
on?
on.
Do they seem cool? Or what about that person in the corner that you completely dismiss because they
Yeah.
don't look as cool?
Yeah,
Right.
yeah.
They don't look as cool, but that could be your core person. You just pass over because they don't look a certain way.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They
They
don't
do
look like they
things a
can
certain
give
way.
me what I
Yes,
need.
Yes,
Yeah.
exactly. So it goes back to
Yeah.
Jesus, help me.
Do you give those individuals sort of tests and trying to, we were talking about this at dinner not too long ago, a friend of ours speaking about how we develop some of these relationships over the years and realizing who was a part of that inner circle versus who was a little, you know, maybe they wanted to be, but after some challenges or even some conversations, you figured, oh, okay, they're not as invested as I hope. Do you intentionally give people sort of tests on where they are in your life or how they would react to what you're going through as a?
I frame it as authentic journeying, right? So if I am journeying with someone and I recognize, oh, based on that experience that just occurred, I now see that that was for a season.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
that was
failed
for a
that
season. That was for a season.
Who failed? You or me? One of us
You
failed.
know?
So
I don't
it could
even
be.
view it as failure. It's
That's
just
right.
okay. Well,
That didn't work out.
because at some point I believed I heard from God, right? At some point we believed that we were meant to journey together. So
yeah.
it doesn't mean, so then do I go back and say, okay, did I miss God or did you miss God? Are you in sin or am I in sin? You know, but sometimes it can be, oh, maybe that was our portion for that season.
Come on. Yeah,
Maybe
I
that
love
was our
that.
portion.
That's
I love
good.
that.
And
I
so,
love
but
that.
if I have the perspective of you failed me, no, what
Yeah.
if that was just a portion?
Right.
Wow.
But now I've judged that person by saying they failed. No, maybe
Right.
that was just,
Yeah.
that was it. That was what they were here for.
And
they
I
did
feel
it,
like
and
that, I'm sorry, that feels like it takes a certain type of confidence and just trust in God and who you are and where he's taken you,
Yes.
right? To say that, right?
Mhm.
To not feel hurt that someone is not there with you for as long as you thought they were going to be
Yeah.
there with you.
Yeah. And I think it's important to recognize and not pretend when you're disappointed. Like we recognize disappointment because we also don't want to be like, okay, that was my portion.
Yeah.
All right. It's all delicious and lovely.
On to the
No,
next.
that
Thank
does
you,
not feel
Jesus.
good.
Yeah.
It does not
Yeah.
feel good. You just being honest and raw before the Lord and making sure that if there's communication that's happening with that person, you're not blasting and defiling that person,
Yeah.
but just, hey, I'm recognizing that we're pivoting. Think we're pivoting. It's just, I can say that it's disappointing, but that person is not Jesus.
Yeah.
That person is not the fullness of everything that I need.
Yeah.
And so I'm not going to put an expectation on them to be more than what they were even made to be.
So good.
So I can still acknowledge my disappointment and be like, Lord,
Yeah.
I thought
Mhm.
that was my person. And all of this happened, you know? So I think that it's important to grieve and recognize it so that I don't take that residue and carry it into the next relationship. But now what could have been grief properly processed is now bitterness
Wow.
and resentment that I've
Come on.
taken into this new relationship.
Wow.
This person has nothing to do. The
Yeah.
new person has nothing to do with the previous friendship, but I'm salty and now I'm acting a certain way
Right.
based on
Carrying all
unresolved
these
disappointment.
bags.
That's now bitterness,
Yeah.
you know? And so I think it's important to recognize disappointment, call it what it is, but not to live in that space.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
So good. Absolutely.
I can sit here and just talk to you forever, just about all this wisdom that you are sharing here, and you talk about carrying over, bitterness or not grieving properly, carrying it over to the next relationship, and so we're gonna continue on our conversation into our next episode whenever we can invite you back on, because we definitely want to keep hearing more from you.
That'd be great.
This
Maybe
was
we
so
just
good.
need to have a tinsy hour. We just, we just.
once a month or once every 2 months, like a 2 hour if you want therapy.
Let's start doing call-ins.
Call-ins. Miss Tinsy, well, I have a situation that
I'm going to say, what did Jesus say?
First.
What did Jesus say?
Could you tell our listeners how to find you, where to find you, if they're looking for therapy? Are you open to people calling, or how can people reach out if they need help?
Yes. So the name of our practice is ETSA Counseling Center, PLLC, and we are located in Waco, Texas on 3500 Hillcrest Drive. We do have several clinicians at our practice, so it's not just, I'm not the only clinician that's there. So if someone is interested in meeting with either me or another one of our lovely psychotherapists for therapy, they're welcome to contact us at 254-447-4539. They can also just, if you Google ETSA, E as in everyone, T as in taste buds,
Wow.
S as in savory,
Okay.
A as in always,
Okay.
and H as in hippity hop. You didn't think I was going to say that,
No,
did
not.
you?
Not
I
at
had
all.
to change it up a little bit. So if you just Google ETSA counseling in Waco, Texas, the website will come up.
Incredible.
I love that. I absolutely had an amazing time chatting with
I
you
did
today.
too. I thoroughly enjoy you all.
Thank you for being our guest today. We
Oh.
really appreciate it. We'll definitely love to have you back on soon.
I'm humbled by the invitation.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Awesome. Well, thank you all for tuning in to this episode. Again, as you can see, it was a very special one. Feel free to subscribe and then also share this podcast with whoever you think should listen in. But once again, thank you for all your ear time, and we're grateful.
This has been a Rogue Media Network production.